Well, to consider all that we've heard on the program, this is of course prime time, let's bring in our two analysts who are with me for the rest of the 5-10 minutes that we've got left to offer their perspectives on the news and the talking points of the day. The writer and columnist Dele Olowo is in the studio, as is the international economist and political analyst Christian Udechukwu. Thank you very much indeed to both of you for coming in. And let me start with you, Christian, because you're the economist. You heard very briefly, you heard the Minister of State for Petroleum there, giving the reasons why they've privatized NNPC and outlining what he thinks the challenges and so on are going to be. What's your reaction to all of that?
Well, I think that the idea of commercializing NNPC under the PIA is an excellent initiative. Most people never thought it will happen, but it has, and it's a very significant step forward. It heralds a whole new beginning for the NNPC, and as a commercial enterprise, it is expected to do most things that the sovereign entity, the government monopoly, could not do, which means, for example, it's now, as a commercial entity, able to check its daily production. It's also able to work actively to checkmate oil thieves, and that means that it has to organize a strong stakeholder community. I think that's what the minister was alluding to, but he didn't want to sound sufficiently alarming. But the main thing is that if an entity is now commercial, it means it has to account for everything. So the days of oil thefts are probably coming to an end. It will need stronger enforcement on the part of the agencies, some of which have been accused of collusion in the past. It may mean that some changes at the top may happen, because you need part of the significant reforms that needs to happen within the oil environment. It's not just the incoming management of the NNPC, which is quite competent and very highly respected, but also you need to see internal reforms within the NNPC. So you're going to be perhaps seeing some form of restructuring going on within the NNPC subsidiaries. Perhaps some collapse of some of the entities, mergers of some of them into, shorter, simpler silos, consolidation of the accounts, which means again that, some of the ghost accounts and so on may cease to exist. So there's going to be perhaps some greater provision on the security side to ensure that the theft is checked. And then you're going to see perhaps some action on the refinery side. What do I mean by that? Perhaps not some revitalization of the old entities. It may be that they are sold off as some form of carcasses, because the current NNPC will not have the funds to invest in the revitalization or refurbishment of any of these entities. So it may look to a more futuristic, more hopeful, more optimistic arrangement with other modular refineries and the mega refinery of the Dangote Industries that will soon be coming on stream. So the future is bright.
Okay. What's your take on that, Dele Olowo?
You're drawing me into rather rough waters, not being an energy scholar. But I think that what the minister has done is an important step forward, commercializing the NNPC. But you see, government companies have a notorious history of being inefficient. And I suspect that except proper care is taken, they might introduce this
slip back.
Yes, and like to spoil the otherwise, of course, there are some examples. I know a military governor in one of the South states who established 74 companies before he left office. None of them is alive today. So we shouldn't allow such unhappy experiences to color our response. We should be hopeful that under the new NNPC, it has a new spine, it has a new resolution to do that which is good, and then address itself to the challenges of modern nationhood. But there is one subtext. The subtext concerns the anxiety of very many people, particularly in the oil-bearing economies, oil-bearing environment, who have continually criticized government that the NNPC has been dominated by certain demographics. And these things need to be addressed, whether you are doing commercializing commercialization or not. If you do commercialization and you don't address those anxieties, we will not go anywhere.
Well, I appreciate both being succinct. We've got a couple of minutes or less left on the program, and I apologize again for that. But you heard Ambassador Humphrey Ojako talking about the importance of restructuring and the fact that he thinks that that should be an important part of the election campaign. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's essential that it should be. I believe that, part of the psychological change that is happening nationally, including, like we just discussed, the birth of the NNPC Limited and the pressure of expectation that will force change. I believe the 2023 election is a very significant moment for Nigeria. We've had a lot of ditterings without significant progress, and restructuring is very important. Why is that so? Well, because the regions, by whatever category they are, and I think that it's accepted that there are perhaps 6 of them now: Northeast, Northwest, North Central, Southeast, South, Southwest, and so on. Each has competitive advantage, and those competitive advantages economically are not being totally explored under the current structure.
Right. So you think they will be under restructuring?
Yes, they have to.
Okay. Let me bring, I'm really sorry about this. Dele Olowo, what are your thoughts on this? We've got about 30 seconds.
Yes, restructuring is an important conundrum in political conversations within and sometimes outside Nigeria these days. Some of his proponents see it for negative ends. They see it as an opportunity to dismember Nigeria. They promote the notion that Nigerians have had no contact with each other. We are not one, we are separate, we are incompatible, therefore we should go our separate ways. And even refer glibly to the amalgamation as the mistake of 1914. It wasn't a mistake, it was a gesture of wisdom, acknowledging the natural affinities that have continued to grow over the years among Nigerians. So that sort of restructuring should be encouraged to bring Nigeria together in a more wholesome union in which no part will be cheated.
Very, very interesting. I want to thank both of you. Please come back. Let's talk a little bit more next time. Christian Udechukwu and Dele Olowo, thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.